The Boston Celtics are in the midst of doing something that I don't believe I have ever seen before as a basketball fan. And honestly, when one thinks about the Boston Celtics, you really gotta tip your hat off to Danny Ainge, who has been probably, in my opinion, the best GM in basketball the past 10 years. Now, when Celtic fans like to talk about the Boston Celtics, typically what you like to hear is that the Celtics are one superstar away from finally competing against the Cleveland Cavaliers for championships. But if you really think about it, the Celtics are doing something that only one other team that I believe has been able to do successfully, and that's the 1982 Los Angeles Lakers. In 1979, the Los Angeles Lakers traded Don Ford for the Cleveland Cavaliers' 1982 first-round draft pick. Well, guess what ended up happening? That 1982 draft pick turned into the #1 overall pick in the 1982 draft and allowed the Los Angeles Lakers to select James Worthy out of North Carolina. And we all know what ends up happening next. Big Game James comes in, the Showtime Lakers dominate, and they were one of the few teams that were able to complete their rebuild very quickly while competing for championships. In fact, the Los Angeles Lakers have already won a championship the year prior. So, in this specific instance, the rich just got richer. Going back to the Boston Celtics, who are the Lakers' arch-hated rivals, you really just gotta think, is this really fair? Think about it. Upon the regression of Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, the Boston Celtics swung a huge trade, nabbing multiple picks from the Brooklyn Nets, which has already turned out to stellar players. On top of that, they've just been drafting incredibly well. I know Boston Celtic fans aren't really that up on James Young, but at the time, coming out of college, James Young was considered to be a steal as the 17th pick for the Celtics. But in addition to that, that same year, they drafted their defensive enforcer, Marcus Smart, and then the year after that, they were able to nab Terry Rozier with the 16th pick, a player that's already paying off dividends for the Boston Celtics in his second year. This year, the Brooklyn Nets pick turned out to be the #3 overall pick, and the Celtics drafted Jaylen Brown. Now, if you don't think that's fair, this year, the Boston Celtics have the highest odds at the #1 pick in the NBA draft. In a loaded NBA draft, might I add. Think about it. Imagine the second place Celtics. Imagine Isaiah Thomas, Al Horford, Jaylen Brown, who is continuing his development. Terry Rozier is only in his second year. I really doubt this is his ceiling. You have Brad Stevens, who's an analytical genius and has had success dating back to his days in Butler. And on top of that, you have a guaranteed top 4 pick in one of the most loaded draft classes in recent memory. Now, I want you to imagine all of those players I have just mentioned, add Lonzo Ball, Markelle Fultz, Dennis Smith, or Josh Jackson to the equation. Either way, the Boston Celtics are just loading up. They're one of the few teams that have been able to rebuild and compete at the same time. And I didn't even mention Isaiah Thomas, who is playing out of his mind currently. The 5'9" former Mr. Irrelevant point guard has adapted a persona of being one of the most clutch scorers in the fourth quarter. Add the veteran Al Horford to the mix, and you may have one of the most well-rounded teams that is poised to dominate the Eastern Conference for the next 8 to 10 years. And guys, if you think I'm being biased, this is coming from a Laker fan. This does kind of hurt to admit this, but Celtic fans, Boston fans, all of you guys have something to look forward to because the TD Garden is sure to be popping this year. And with that, I wanted to give you guys a huge thank you. My previous video is one of the best videos I've made in recent memory, and the support on that video was crazy. So if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, and one more announcement for you guys. I am about 20 followers away from hitting the 5,000 follower mark on Instagram. Upon hitting the 5,000 follower mark on Instagram, I'm gonna go on a gigantic Instagram following spree. So be sure to click the show more, go to my Instagram up in the description, and hit that follow button. And besides that, man, subscribe to stay in touch with me and push that little bell to get notified when I upload a new video.